The question is, why do you have to move 2 or 3 times during the time you are here as an exchange student? For 2 main reasons: to give you the opportunity to know better the culture by living with different families, and to avoid the deterioration of relationship. Your host family has volunteered to receive you in their house. Now tell me, do you have expectations in relation to the way your family is going to receive and treat you? Of course you do, right? In the same way, when they volunteered to host you, they also had expectations for your behavior. Remember that relationship is a two-way street. So, have you ever thought about taking this into consideration, giving the best of yourself so that they can repay it, treating you better than you expected? Huh? So, do your best, and they will offer you the best. You may have in mind, do I have to participate in my host family activities? And I ask you, what do you think? Of course you do. You will be a family member, not a guest. Your house is not a hotel. You are not going to travel to Brazil on vacation. If you are going to be considered as a family member, what do you think your host parents want from you? They want you to ask for help if you need, ask for things you can't understand, smile. They want you to offer help, to participate, to tell them your worries, and mainly, they don't want you to stay in your room most of the time, talking to your family and friends back home 24 hours a day. It goes without saying that families from different countries have different habits, different ways of being, and different ways of seeing the world. So you have to adapt to your host family, their daily routine, their food, their activities, their hobbies, and so on. You have to adapt, and not the other way around. And they will be very happy if you share your culture with them. But if you feel seriously uncomfortable, upset with any specific situation, please, before talking to anyone, the first thing to do is to talk right away with your host club counselor. So when you visit your host club for the first time, please ask for the names of the club counselor and the club officer. Ask for their telephone numbers so you can call them anytime you need. Do you think your host mother is supposed to keep your room clean? No, she isn't. You are responsible to keep your room clean. Your family may probably not have a maid, and your host mother may work out of the house. So your room is your responsibility. As we have said before, it's very difficult to avoid communicating with those people that you trust, who give you support and guidance. However, you must always have this in mind. Frequent communication makes adaptation harder. I'm going to repeat it. Frequent communication makes adaptation harder. And the faster you adapt, the happier you will be. And talking about happiness, we want to give you a few hints that could help you have the best experience of your life. These are the things you should and that you should not do in your exchange year. Don't complain about everything. Be grateful. Don't talk only to your peers, the exchange students. Make Brazilian friends. That's what you'll be here for. Try not to consider your country and culture better than any other country or culture. Consider this experience in this country as a unique one for your growth as a human being. Rotarians all over the world are dedicated to these international causes. To promote peace, to provide clean water and sanitation, to save mothers and children, to support education, to grow local economies, and to fight disease. The question now is, where does the youth exchange program fit in? Which of these causes I have just mentioned do we from the exchange program fit in? Maybe this comment from the Rotary International former president, Carl Stanhammer, can give you a hint. If every 17-year-old student went on a Rotary Youth Exchange program, there would be no more war in the world. Do you know now where the exchange program fit in? Yes, to promote peace. Rotary encourages conversation to foster understanding within and across cultures. Now, let's talk about the rules and regulations for exchange students established by our district, the 4510. Your participation in Rotary meetings and activities is not mandatory. You are invited and welcome. Your participation will be greatly appreciated and we strongly recommend it. Because during your exchange year, you have to make the best use of your time to learn from people who can contribute with your exchange. And at the same time, to share your culture with these people. You may not understand why we are talking about this now. Because right now, you may have no intention to travel anywhere, except travels with your host family or organized by the Rotary District, right? However, as you start living in Brazil as an exchange student, friends invite you to travel to other cities. You feel like traveling by yourself to visit a friend you made during the conference, and he lives 200 kilometers from your city. Or a group of exchange students decide to travel by themselves to another state for a live rock show, for example, and so on. In fact, these are the situations we face every year with our inbound students. So we have traveling rules, and there are no exceptions, okay? To travel inside of our district, you need your family approval. And to travel outside of our district, you need your family or a Rotarian accompanying you. You are also allowed to go on cultural school trips as long as the school itself is promoting the trip. And you have your family approval. Our main rules for exchange students are often referred to as the 4 Ds. No drinking, no drugs, no driving, and no dating. I mean, no serious dating, okay? No drinking and no driving simply because it's a Rotary rule. Illegal drugs, there's nothing for me to comment on. Enough said? Dating is a very difficult issue. It's neither reasonable nor desirable to expect a student not to date for a school year. On the other hand, Rotary recognizes the problems that serious dating relationships could present. So, no serious dating. The Rotary Exchange Program Officer or Counselor are supposed to collect your passport for safekeeping. In fact, your host family is supposed to provide your Brazilian ID together with the federal police. And this ID will be all you need in Brazil. So you can keep your passport in a safe place, handing it to the club officer or counselor. They are also supposed to collect your emergency fund. As we have already mentioned here, but I'm going to repeat it in order to be very clear. You are expected to bring an amount of 300 American dollars as an emergency fund. This should be handed over during your first week with the club officer. This money is only needed in special cases, when the expenses are your responsibility and cannot be paid from other allowance. In case the money is not needed, it will be returned during the last month of your exchange year. And last but not least, your host family and your club counselor together are going to ask you a few questions. And we culturally call it the first night questions, in order to establish all the necessary agreements concerning family rules necessary for a good relationship. As our clubs are volunteer-based organizations and not a company with a strict sequence of steps, your club officer or counselor may forget to collect your passport or your emergency fund. Or maybe your host family, as they are hosting an exchange student for the first time, forget to make the first night questions. So, I'm going to ask you to remind them if it happens, okay? Please, these are some questions you may ask your host family. I was told someone from the club was supposed to collect my passport and my emergency fund. Are we going to visit my host club soon? Is somebody from my host club going to come to talk to me? Are we going to discuss the first night questions?